Well, I guess we all know that 2020 hasn't been a good year for anyone with the COVID virus and that. And a lot of us have lost people or going through very painful times. Actually, I don't know where to start, to be honest. I'm not even sure if I want to make any videos about this subject, but just in case, I wanted to sort of record my current feelings and emotions in regards to a recent diagnosis I had. I was discharged from hospital recently, the second time in 4 weeks. Each time I was in hospital, I was there for about a week. But now I finally have a diagnosis. So I found out yesterday I have lymphoma. I'm still yet to find out exactly what type, but I've been told that it's not aggressive, so I guess that's a good thing. Next week I'll be going to Peter Mac, which is like a cancer hospital, to have further tests and scans to sort of work out the treatment I'll be having. It'll be on a Wednesday, which I'll go there, which is still 3 days away, so by then I'll have the full biopsy results. So they'll know exactly what type of lymphoma. Obviously it's a cancer, and when people talk about cancer, you often think the worst. To be honest, I don't quite know how I feel. During this period, the last few months, I've kind of had an idea in the back of my mind that there's something going on with my body, and I suspected that maybe I've got cancer. Anyway, as it turns out, that's the case. So, when you start thinking about the prospect that you will have cancer or any kind of illness that potentially can shorten your life, you start reevaluating what do you want to do with the remaining time. I guess I don't know how much time I have. I don't know how severe it is. I don't know if it's stage 4 or whatever. I've got no idea, but it's just sort of helped push me a little bit more into, okay, if I've got 2 years left, what do I do with those 2 years? So I guess, if I do start making any more of these videos, it'll be talking about what I'm planning on doing and sharing with anyone that watches these videos, because one of the things that I'll want to do is share my knowledge with my time-lapse photography. Instead of just going out there and capturing time-lapses, which is what I do enjoy, and it was always a meditational thing for me because I also suffer from PTSD. Instead of focusing on just taking photos and having a good time doing it, I'm going to try and spend the time sharing my knowledge with everybody, either by making videos or coming up with a website or something like that. So, if I was to die in the next year or two, at least that part of my life, which has been a big part of my life, hasn't gone to waste, so to speak. For me, it's always been good to feel like you've inspired people. Not that I feel like I have, but acts of kindness or generosity, it's always been something I've appreciated. Okay, so that's kind of my short-term goal in regards to my photography. I'll be uploading more videos. I'll have more time, I guess, now to try and work on that. Although, with lymphoma, I've been getting a lot of bouts of fatigue lately and not feeling well. And I guess when I start the chemo treatment, I'll be knocked around a bit more. So hopefully I'll have the energy to try and be more productive in that sense in regards to videos. So also, I want to build a closer relationship with my partner. We just moved in last month when this all started, so we just virtually I picked up the keys for this rental on the 19th of June, and then by the 22nd I was in hospital the first time with severe back pain. Thinking with my kidneys, I'd gone to hospital and they did a CT scan, and then they found that my kidneys were okay, but I had enlarged lymph nodes in my stomach and chest. So that's what started the ball rolling, because I took a biopsy from my back and it came back normal. And then I was home for 2 weeks and I found some swelling in my neck, like the lymph nodes in my neck were swollen. And because I didn't actually get a confirmation from the first biopsy, I thought, well, I'll make my way to the emergency department again, because the doctors had told me if anything flares or comes up, just go back. So I went back, ended up being there for another week, because obviously with COVID going on here in Melbourne, there's a lockdown as well. So it takes time to book in the scans and the biopsies, especially when it's the main hospital in Melbourne, so you've got your emergencies coming in as well. So it took a few days before I got the biopsy. Then obviously that's when I found out a day later that I have lymphoma. So just to sort of backtrack a little bit, I'm also privileged and grateful to my employer, who've been paying me to stay home since March 29th, because when the COVID pandemic started here in Melbourne initially, work offered anyone that was of a certain age group or had immune issues to be paid to stay home until it was safe to come back to work, because I don't have a spleen. My spleen was removed from a car accident when I was 9. And I also have a heart condition, so I have AF, which is atrial fibrillation, where the top part of my heart can tend to beat out of sync with the rest of it, and can tend to beat up to like 200 beats per minute kind of thing, and even to the point where I black out. So I've only had a few episodes over the years, but that's what I have as well. So anyway, work have been good enough to pay me to stay home, and they're continuing to do so. So I don't have that financial stress at the moment, although I'm still living week to week. But like I said, I'm blessed because there's so many people out there that aren't getting paid or have actually lost their job because, the employers have had to shut down. So I've been trying to use this time to work on my photography initially. And now, obviously, I'll be focusing on treatment. Because for the first 3 months, I actually went away from the city altogether to live in my van for several months, because I knew there'd be restrictions and lockdowns happening, and I didn't have anywhere to stay at the time because my girlfriend was actually moving out of her apartment and moving to live with her sister for a while. So we hadn't organised anywhere to live together. So we both thought the best thing is for me to get away from the city, which is what I did from March to June. So during that period, I tried to be productive with my photography and try not to move around too much because of restrictions as well. It also made it a bit difficult because all the camping spots and caravan spots were closed. So, but I was fortunate that I was able to get away. And like I said, I came back on the 19th of June because we picked up the keys for this rental. And then I had severe back pain for 3 days. And then I thought I'd better go to the hospital. And like I said before, that's when this whole ball started and trying to work out what the issue was. So I apologise for jumping back and forth, because normally I try to do a scripted, or I plan things out on paper on what I'm going to say, but I guess now more than ever I feel like I don't have the time to do that. And to be honest, I guess being raw or just being natural and being honest is the way to go in this circumstance. So I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do this, whether I do these personal vlogs about my lymphoma chemo journey, because there's been so many people out there that have done the same thing, and it's good that they have, because that gives people like myself information on what it's like to go through that. But there's, I guess, the creative part of me that just doesn't want to be another one. So I might try to do a mix of, this is my story, but I'll teach you a few things. Or I might keep them separate, I don't know. I haven't had a lot of great success and exposure in regards to my time lapses. I don't have a very powerful computer, just using laptops at the moment, so it's not a fast, speedy process. But I'll learn to change my workflow and do things a bit quicker. So, like I said, I haven't actually decided the format of how I'm going to talk about my lymphoma journey, because I guess it's also not just about my lymphoma journey. Like I said, I don't know how bad this illness is that I have or what type. I don't know if it'll turn aggressive. I don't know whether the treatment will kill me because of my compromised immune system and heart. I've got no idea what the future holds. So one of the things that I've always wanted to do, and this sort of goes in with my PTSD, is I've always worried about time. Like, I want to do this, I want to write a story, I want to talk about my life so that somebody knows what I went through. You know, I lost my parents. I lost my father and sister in a car accident when I was 9. I lost my mum when I was 18, when she died in her sleep. I have regret over all that. That created the post-traumatic stress I have now and the anxiety over the years, losing relationships. I wanted to talk about all that, not just to say, feel sorry for me, or, you know, I just wanted to say, this is my life. These were my family, because there's no one around apart from, you know, a few aunties and that know the story. And it's like, I don't want their memory to be forgotten. So that's kind of behind the idea that I've always had about talking about my life and sharing my life. And maybe in a way it'll help touch someone else or inspire someone. I've always felt that if you can inspire one person or help one person, it means it's been worth it. So, like I said, today's Sunday. I was diagnosed on Friday with lymphoma. I'll be contacted tomorrow about an appointment on Wednesday. Go in and have a PET scan. Go more blood tests, and then I'm going to scan and check how strong my heart is. And then I guess from that, as well, I'll have the biopsy results, full biopsy results. And then from that, I guess they'll work out on a treatment. So I'm hoping that, because it's not an aggressive type, that I won't have to be hospitalised for the entire treatment. So I'm hoping, mainly because, you know, like I said, my girlfriend and I have just moved into this place. She moved in a few weeks later, so we've only not even had a week together fully when all this happened, when I was going to hospital. So hopefully I can be treated as an outpatient, spend a bit more time with her, and then go in and get treated. So again, I don't know if I'm going to document all of that. You know, if in the meantime, if anyone actually cares and watches any of these videos, and, you know, if you post some comments in the, you know, below any of these videos that I make, and if you ask me, just, you know, how do I do this in regards to time lapses, or what camera settings I use, for example, then that'll give me an idea or inspiration of what I'll do in the next video. So basically, I'm just going to talk about time lapse basics, and then talk about camera settings, and then I'll be talking about editing basics, motion, time lapse, and, you know, advanced editing in Premiere, After Effects, Photoshop, Adobe Lightroom, LR time lapse, and that kind of thing. While we're in this pandemic across the world, please stay safe, wear your mask, do the right thing by everyone else, because Melbourne's second wave, I believe, started because people just didn't do the right thing because they were too complacent. They didn't really believe it. They didn't want to be told that they couldn't see friends and family, so they did all that, and now we've got, 300, 400 a day of cases and 2 or 3 people on average dying, so it's pretty serious. But anyway, in your part of the world, please take care, have faith, and follow your heart. Because this isn't scripted, I actually forgot to talk about how I'm actually feeling and my thoughts about being diagnosed with lymphoma at this moment in time. I guess it's obviously a serious thing. I always found it fascinating when one of the emergency doctors did the first CT scan the first time I was in hospital, and he came back and he got on his knees or at the same level as my bed, and he had this very serious look on his face, and he said he's sorry, but they found enlarged lymph nodes in my stomach, which was my first scan back on the 22nd of June. And I could see in his eyes he felt very sorry for telling me the news, and I'm just lying there like, okay, didn't really feel anything. I knew lymphoma was a cancer, but I didn't know much more about that. But obviously at that time there was no definite diagnosis. And then while I was in hospital for the 4 days after that, while they were taking a range of blood tests, testing for HIV, syphilis, AIDS and that kind of thing, and checking my inflammation markers in my blood, which were a bit up, but they were going down by themselves as the pain in my back was going. The doctors were also serious in saying that, everything, all my blood tests are coming back clear, and it looks like it is lymphoma, but they don't really know until I do a biopsy. And again, I had that okay, it could possibly be that. From their experience, it's most likely that. So I guess obviously from their reactions, I knew it was a serious thing. And I guess it didn't really, I didn't get more depressed. I didn't start stressing out or panicking or having anxiety. It's just like, okay, because it's going to be 3 days before I got the first biopsy result. So they were sending me home the day after I had the biopsy. And I guess I was just more or less thinking at that time, okay, I just got to sort of focus on not knowing how much time I will have left, even though I still don't. Just sort of focus on what is actually important to me, or what I want to leave behind if I was to die. In regards to my photography, a story or a novel that I've always wanted to write. In regards to my relationship with my partner, try and make her as happy as possible and leave some good memories for her if I was to die early. That's kind of what I was thinking about. And also with my photography, just thinking about, okay, what can I do of what I've already captured and my knowledge, like I mentioned before, to sort of make a difference to someone in the world. So those were my initial thoughts the first time I was in hospital. And like I said, I was home and I was at home for 2 weeks. I got a phone call the following week that the biopsy was normal, but they still felt that there was something sinister going on. So I guess from that you can understand that the prospect of having cancer or lymphoma never went away. So it was always in the back of my mind. But then I guess, often having times where I'm feeling tired, and I get a lot of sweats now, a lot of hot sweats where I'd wake up at night and my bed sheets are just wet, or it even happened during the day. I'd just be sitting at the computers and I just started feeling warm and sweating, which is a symptom of the lymphoma, and dry coughing as well, and fatigue. And apparently I've lost weight, so I've lost I think because I don't weigh myself every week, my average weight's been 117, 115 kilos because I'm a big man. I've lost 10 kilos without even trying, no exercise, not changing my diet. So I guess that can be a positive thing, losing weight, because I can afford to. But now I guess to talk about how I'm feeling now, sorry, just running nose. About now how I'm feeling now that I've actually been confirmed as having a form of lymphoma. Because like I mentioned before, they've actually still got to get the full report about what type. The hematologist who saw me in hospital mentioned that it's an uncommon type, but that's all we know. So how do I feel? Well, I guess now I know the situation's a bit more serious. I now know that I'll definitely be having some form of chemo. From what I've read, chemo can actually almost kill some people, so I guess it's going to be a balancing act with the treatment. I've already got an immune issue of not having a spleen and a bad heart, so I guess I'm not looking forward to feeling sick or more sick than I am now, or feeling more tired than I am now, because with the fatigue, and it's always been hard for me now, I guess, looking back over the last several months, even while I was living in the van for a few months away from the city, I remember times I was just coughing for no reason. I remember times where I just suddenly got tired and I had to sleep more or less straight away. And even after sleeping for a couple of hours, even half a day, I still felt tired. So just remembering all those episodes, I know I've had it all this time. But I guess what I was trying to say with that in regards to fatigue, that having post-traumatic stress disorder or depression, it can make you feel fatigued and unmotivated as well. So I guess, I definitely had more bouts of fatigue in the last several months as to normal, but it's always been a part of my life. So I guess it's a bit hard to distinguish at times when I had fatigue from my depression and from obviously the lymphoma that was growing in my body. But now, as of today, I'm starting to get headaches now, burning sensation behind my eyes, more sweating, and just feeling a bit nauseous in my stomach sometimes when I stand, and not feeling like I have the energy a bit. So that's what I'm feeling now. So I think with chemo, it might make that a little bit worse, but we'll see. But getting back to how I feel, I'm not giving up. I'm not even thinking like that. I'm just thinking, well, now that I know what it is, I just have to deal with it, do the treatment, and just keep working at the little goals that I want to achieve in the next few years if I have that much time. I've heard that it's a very treatable disease. I've heard that some people have had it twice. But I guess I'm just going to try and remain positive. Despite my depression, I always have this feeling of faith that things will work out, or that someone in the spiritual world, whether it's angels or God or whatever, are looking after me, as they always have, even though I haven't been aware of it. Because I'm a firm believer that things in life can happen for a reason. So I'm going to treat it as a learning experience. Hopefully I'll grow stronger from it. And then obviously it's forcing me to be more focused and motivational, or more productive with what I want to do in regards to my photography and sharing that. And hopefully I can finish that story that I've been wanting to write since I was 16. So I guess, I just wanted to say that I'm taking it each day as it comes, which is why I thought maybe I will start doing these little vlog videos, because maybe my mental state will change. I don't know, and it might be interesting, not only for myself to look back, hopefully in a year or two, to look back and see the changes, and for other people to see what it's like. Again, I don't necessarily want to create another chemo lymphoma journey, because there's so many out there. But I guess, everyone's story is unique. Everyone's perspective is unique. So, but like I said, I'm just going to see how it goes. Take each day as it comes and try and make a difference to my life and other people's life, especially my partner's. Because the other night she got really upset and I could see how much it was affecting her. So it's not just about me, it's about the people that love me and that I love. So I can only do my best with what I've got. Anyway, that's it. Take care.